Everybody enjoying a right wing that does everything it can to fight the left, and a left wing that does everything it can to fight itself. And if you defend any kind of institution, you don't get it, and you're a neo-lib show. Everybody feel good about that? Everybody happy with this outcome? Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Speech Center. It is officially the start of a new presidential season, and we're already sick and tired of Trump being back in office for just over 1 week. God, it feels like longer. Joining us, as always, you know him, you love him. It's Tim Miller.
Hey, Lovett. You're fresh off a second reality show loss, I noticed. I was watching you on Trackstar last night.
I did. I lost.
Favreau.
Yes, he beat me. He beat me fair and square, no question. Tim, is this what it's like to see the Chiefs go to the Super Bowl again?
Your loss, you mean? Or Donald Trump winning again? It's kind of like the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl.
Donald Trump winning again.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of like that because we're so sick of him and we want it to be over. So it's similar in that sense. You know, I mean, Travis, Kelce, and Mahomes, they seem like good people. They seem like their hearts are in the right place. I mean, Patrick Mahomes' brother, I'm not so sure about him. He might be Trumpy.
I think I'm going to go ahead and root for the Eagles. And we'll see. Well, I don't understand. You don't want the Chiefs to win, but you don't want the Eagles to win?
Yeah, it's kind of like the Trump-DeSantis primary.
I see. On today's show, we are highlighting Trump's biggest plays in his opening week, including his take on tariffs, deportations, and getting rid of FEMA. Though before we get to that, let's first check in with Karoline Leavitt.
I think it's Leavitt.
Is it Leavitt? Are we saying Leavitt or leave it?
Love it or leave it.
I think we're saying Leavitt.
Well, love it or Leavitt. Here she is at her first White House briefing.
And I will say it's very easy to speak truth from this podium when you have a president who is implementing policies that are wildly popular with the American people. And that's exactly what this administration is doing. It's correcting the lies and the wrongs of the past 4 years, many of the lies that have been told to your faces in this very briefing room. We've seen the Biden administration spend money like drunken sailors. It's a big reason we've had an inflation crisis in this country. And it's incumbent upon this administration to make sure, again, that every penny is being accounted for honestly. DOJ and OMB also found that there was about to be 50 million taxpayer dollars that went out the door to fund condoms in Gaza. That is a preposterous waste of taxpayer money. So that's what this pause is focused on, being good stewards of tax dollars.
We don't want the people of Gaza to get STDs, John. We're very concerned.
So she gets behind that podium and says they were going to buy $50 million worth of condoms in Gaza. Meanwhile, the Medicaid portal in Connecticut is down, right? Like they have frozen vast amounts of what the government is meant to do, including very popular things like providing health care for children. They are doing these political executive orders without having thought through the ramifications of it, which they either believe no one will know about because people don't pay attention to the workings of the federal government unless they feel it directly, or that they can spin it however they choose and that will get to enough people to muddy the waters. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with most of that. I want to weigh in on a couple style points first, though,
okay,
if you don't
please.
mind.
That's what this is all about.
I mean, way better than Spicer.
Yeah.
Like, just dominated Sean Spicer. Also, I guess the only other good thing I'll say is, like, she is nailing the Sarah Michelle Gellar and Cruel Intentions look for our elder millennial viewers. The posture, the outfit. I don't know if what's inside the cross necklace is probably not the same, but who knows? The rest of it, it's hard to, like, pin somebody down when they're doing these kind of like just broad proclamations and broad efforts at political positioning. The only other clip I saw from it that I think is worth mentioning on like an actual specific tangible thing was on the birthright citizenship question, where she just said flat that this administration does not consider birthright citizenship to be constitutional. A pretty tough sell, considering it's just right there in the plain text of the amendment.
One question is what happens when that birthright citizenship moves higher through the courts. A Reagan appointee lambasted the Trump lawyers, the government lawyers, for supporting this. He said some version of, I don't understand how someone who is a member of the bar could defend this. In other words, he is not just saying, I disagree with your legal arguments. He is saying, to make these legal arguments makes me question whether you are honoring your oath. All right, let's go to Trump's speech at the World Economic Forum, where he discussed all things economic, including, of course, that there are only two genders.
My message to every business in the world is very simple. Come make your product in America, and we will give you among the lowest taxes of any nation on earth. We're bringing them down very substantially, even from the original Trump tax cuts. But if you don't make your product in America, which is your prerogative, then very simply you will have to pay a tariff.
This to me spoke to just like how embarrassed we should all be about the ways in which Donald Trump has been running circles around us. He was not at the World Economic Forum. He was speaking from the U.S. They set up a podium and a big screen and shot him in the wide shot to make it look like he was giving a speech. People in the comments, you can tell me if I'm missing the fact that everybody's been doing this. It was the first time I saw it, certainly in a big forum, and it was just excellent stagecraft and made it look like, oh, wow, you can have the president from the White House give formal speeches on a big screen. I remember when Joe Biden would do, I know we're running out of opportunities to go back and make fun of Joe Biden, but
not me.
He would do these kind of video things, and he just was like he was just like right up on the fucking camera. It looked terrible.
I couldn't notice the stagecraft because I kept thinking over and over again that I think I'm in hell, that I have to listen to this person talk again for another 1,400 days. So I'm glad you flagged that because I do agree.
Do you notice that the eagle is no longer turned towards the olive branch? The eagle's turned towards the arrows.
We've moved the eagle. Can we see? Can I see it again?
The arrows are on the right, and the olive branch is on the left. Right? Hold on, I'm going to look closely.
The olive branch is on the left. Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck. Because as with all things, either someone's being cheeky deep within this fucking evil operation, or somebody's an idiot and doesn't know because they went into ChatGPT and said, give me a cool version of the American. I don't know what version of the American seal this is. I just know that ever since post-World War II, President Truman said, points towards the fucking olive branch.
We're in day 9 or whatever of 1 million. The main focus has not really been on the economic stuff, and he talks about it, but like the balance of the executive orders. There was the thing that Sam Altman did where he said we're investing 500 million or whatever it was, 500 billion, and then Elon said they don't have that much money, and so there's some dispute over that investment, but like most of the other executive orders have been focused on, menacing people and making sure that the flags are higher for Trump and all of these sort of culture war items. So if he successfully repatriates a lot of money for people that start building things in America, I think that might work out well for him. But I'll believe it when I see it.
All right. Next up, let's hear some of Trump's actual economic policies at his No Taxes on Tips rally in Vegas.
I'll be working with Congress to get a bill on my desk that cuts taxes for workers, families, small businesses, and very importantly, keeps my promise. No tax on tips. No tax on tips. On day 1, I immediately halted the hiring of any new IRS agents. They tried to hire 88,000 new workers to go after you, and we're in the process of developing a plan to either terminate all of them or maybe we'll move them to the border. She said no tax on it. How about just no tax? You can do that. If the tariffs work out, like I think a thing like that could happen.
He is right about that. We can switch from a progressive income tax to a far more regressive set of tariffs and other kind of taxes on goods and services that people rely on. That is one way to go.
There was some good news there, John, though. Did you catch that?
What was the good news? What I missed?
Probably the best part of the best news, like for me personally.
Which was?
We're firing all the IRS agents. I thought he was going to sick the IRS agents on me.
Oh, I see.
So
you're saying
that's great.
That
fewer IRS agents mean fewer targeting of foes.
I think that's
through audits.
That's pretty wishful thinking. I think that there's plenty of bodies at the IRS to target as political enemies. Yes, I don't think I don't think that the numbers will come down so far that he can't go through the list and say, let's hit some of these fucking libs. Let's get some of these ex-Republicans. Let's see what's under the. Let's get an audit going on the bulwark as soon as we possibly can.
That's too bad. The no tax on tips thing, I really don't understand. I mean, great gimmick.
Yeah.
Kudos for the gimmick. Can I just declare my entire salary a tip? We're not going to have any IRS agents. So what are the rules governing this? It seems like there's a lot of room for hanky-panky here.
I do think the reason that those audiences love that proposal is because they loved that Donald Trump got one over on the Democrats. That's why they like it. Look at us. We get to applaud Donald Trump being a tribune for the working man, taking an issue from Democrats and doing the thing that makes us appeal to the working class. If there's an actual sensible proposal to exempt tips from taxes, fine. It's a progressive tax cut. He's about to put forward a massive tax cut. The vast majority of it is going to go to the wealthiest people in this country. A small percentage will be set aside to pay for lower taxes for people that make tips. And you could actually just cut taxes for all working people under a certain income. And that would probably benefit more people.
Or let the tax cuts expire on billionaires. It could be another option. A lot of options.
A lot of options we will never explore. Hey everybody, Speech Center is brought to you by Lumen. Are you ready to jumpstart your health in 2025? Lumen can help. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It is a device that measures your metabolism through your breath. And on the app, it lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs and gives you tailored guidance to improve your nutrition, workout, sleep, and even stress management. All you have to do is breathe into your Lumen first thing in the morning, and you'll know what's going on with your metabolism and whether you're burning mostly fat or carbs. Then Lumen gives you a personalized nutrition plan for that day based on your measurements. You can also breathe into it before and after workouts and meals so you know exactly what's going on with your body in real time. And Lumen will give you tips to keep you on top of your health game. It's a great way to kind of gamify your goals. A lot of people trying to cut carbs or figure out how to balance the amount of carbs they need and protein they need and all their various fitness goals. This is a great way to kind of track your progress and see if what you're doing is working and keep you focused on your goals. People at Crooked have been using it. They love it. They love the Lumen. Your metabolism is your body's engine. It's how your body turns the food you eat into the fuel that keeps you going. Lumen gives you recommendations to improve your metabolic health. Take the next step to improve your health. Go to lumen.me/speech to get 20% off your Lumen. That's lumen.me/speech for 20% off your purchase. Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode. We now go to North Carolina, where Trump claims that FEMA has been useless in hurricane recovery and needs to be gone for good.
I'll also be signing an executive order to begin the process of fundamentally reforming and overhauling FEMA, or maybe getting rid of FEMA. I think, frankly, FEMA is not good. I think when you have a problem like this, I think you want to go and, whether it's a Democrat or Republican governor, you want to use your state to fix it and not waste time calling FEMA, and then FEMA gets here and they don't know the area, they've never been to the area, and they want to give you rules that you've never heard about. They want to bring people that aren't as good as the people you already have. And FEMA's turned out to be a disaster. And you could go back a long way. You could go back to Louisiana. You could go back to some of the things that took place in Texas. It turns out to be the state that ends up doing the work. It just complicates it. I think we're going to recommend that FEMA go away.
Is that something the executive can do? I have been pretty confused about what I thought were executive powers. Seems like the remit is a little larger than I had realized.
Yeah, well, you know what, though? I'll tell you, this is an end result of a fucking bipartisan legal morass that has, existed from as long as I've been following politics. The Constitution was written by shopkeepers with lead poisoning, and yet we've ceded the explanation of these documents to people that have very advanced legal degrees and theories. But over the years, it's come to allow this sort of clique of lawyers to declare certain things as complicated when they are simple. But the end result is the president can kind of do whatever the president wants to do, and they can grab an executive authority from a law passed in 76 for this emergency and an authority from this law passed in 1994 to do this, and slowly but surely you cobble together this set of permissions that allow you to write executive orders, do whatever the fuck you want. I know my old conservative friend Tim agrees.
Couldn't agree more. Hate the imperial presidency.
Hate it.
This is just silly. Do we need to talk about why it's silly, or is it just obvious?
Well, I don't think it's obvious.
Do we really want the Mississippi emergency responders dealing with a hurricane on the Gulf Coast by themselves without any help from the federal government?
So I don't think it's obvious to people. FEMA has been at times terrible in its response. Its failures in Louisiana, its failures after Katrina, were not people saying FEMA's doing too much and stepping on people. So it didn't do enough. It didn't provide the service it was meant to provide. It didn't provide the resources it was meant to provide. It was too slow.
This is now I can put my old Republican hat back on for 1 second.
I hear.
Yeah, FEMA fucked up.
Let's hear it. I knew it.
Brownie,
Yeah,
not a great job. But Kathleen Blanco
boom.
and Ray Nagin were a disaster.
I was waiting for it.
They were a disaster.
So
they were awful. You want the corrupt mayor of these cities to be in charge of the emergency response? I'm telling you, we have a bad president, but our mayor down here, if there's another big one in the fall, I don't want LaToya out on her own. Or Jeff Landry. That's a bad combo.
And like, forget Donald Trump is making the argument. Let's talk about the ideological argument, right? He's saying governors and local leaders know their state better than the federal bureaucracy. Actually, wait, but like, there's some truth to that. But here's what a federal agency that is charged with responding to disasters knows about. It knows about how to respond to disasters. And the reason you want a national response when there was a hurricane in North Carolina, or there are fires in California, or there is flooding in Florida, or a cold snap that is deadly in Texas, it is because the whole country benefits from having a rapid, effective response in an emergency to make the consequences of that emergency less and to make the rebuilding take place faster. We are a united collection of states with a shared economy and a bunch of shared interests. And we all collectively benefit from an economy that can quickly rebuild in places that face a catastrophe, a disaster, a fire, a terrorist attack, whatever it may be. And all of us knowing we have that protection makes all of us stronger. That's why you have a FEMA.
I need more time with you, Lovett. Do you want to kind of call me and do these things like every night before bedtime? Just like give me a little, just like pop off for a couple minutes.
Yeah,
give me a little
tight
five.
Sorry, I'm a for a rules-based international order, and it's like that's not cool anymore.
I am same. You're warming my heart.
Finally, Trump spoke to the House Republicans who gathered at his own resort, which 8 years ago we would have been talking about the fucking emoluments clause, but not anymore. So because that doesn't matter anymore because he's openly fucking corrupt. So let's go to Donald Trump, where the House Republicans have paid for the privilege of allowing him to come walk out of his bedroom down the hall to fucking speak to them. Great.
We've made it clear to every country that they will be taking back our people that we're sending out, the criminals, the illegal aliens coming from their countries. We're taking them back, and they're going to take them back fast. And if they don't, they'll pay a very high economic price. The heroes of ICE have been hunting down and arresting hundreds of illegal alien criminals per day, including those with charges and convictions for rape, child sexual assault, terrorism, and even murder. Many murders in the crowd, and many of these murderers have committed far more than one murder. We also have many violent criminals in our country, however, that did not necessarily come here illegally. Let them be brought to a foreign land and maintained by others for a very small fee, as opposed to be maintained in our jails for massive amounts of money, including the private prison companies that charge us a fortune. Now, let them be brought out of our country and let them live there for a while. Let's see how they like it.
So he's saying we're going to outsource prisons. He wants manufacturing domestic. But I mean, it's strange, right? Because I think he's going to start hearing from the private prison industry. They're going to have to buy some fucking Melania coins to send a message to Donald Trump that they don't love this idea of outsourcing our prisoners because those prisoners
they're
create
going to be fat and happy.
You think?
With all the camps.
Right.
The camps that we're going to be building.
You know,
he did just actually empty the prisons of Trump criminals, of MAGA criminals. I don't know, did you see the story out of Indiana?
That a insurrectionist who was released by Donald Trump got into an altercation with the police and was resisting arrest and got killed? I did see that.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. That was something I was going to mention.
Yeah, and so and that's not the only insurrectionist who's been arrested. Another was, I believe, arrested on gun charges, maybe more since that story came out. And now they are walking the street. If you just take out the political angle of it, they're just dangerous people. He just released a bunch of dangerous people who were, and I don't know if it's a particularly good idea to tell a bunch of dangerous people that they're above the law.
It's just part of the weave, we're weaving. We're letting out one class of prisoners and telling them that they have carte blanche. And then another set of prisoners, ones that we don't like, the melanin that we don't like in particular, we're going to outsource them to foreign jailers.
So right now, Democrats are still, first of all, Democrats, when you find one, are still in kind of campaign mode saying tariffs will be bad. This immigration proposal will lead to all these negative consequences, not just moral, but like economic. But then the question is, what happens when there are economic consequences, right? At a certain point, we can't just keep saying Trump augurs terrible things for all of us. It has to happen. Then it becomes about how far Trump is willing to go. In some places, he seemed to go further than people even expected, like freezing vast parts of the federal government extra legally. And then whatever the outcome of these policies, do they have negative economic consequences? And are we able to break through to enough people about those consequences?
I guess my final thing, just response to that, is like, might as well take some practice swings.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with putting up a couple shots, seeing if they go in. It's early in the election for a while. We're stuck with them for a while. Maybe see what works. I'm mixing my sports metaphor. Maybe try a couple little jabs, to see what might make him, where he might be the most vulnerable. I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of that.
We have how do you respond to all these Trump indignities? How do you respond to all these this multivariate threat that is happening, the shock and awe of all these different executive orders? And to me, the person who feels in their bones they need to get out there and talk about it because they're upset and angry and have something to say is probably the person who's going to say what we need to hear.
Don't be scared of your feelings, libs. It's okay.
Yeah.
You can share them.
Let it rip.
A couple of you have dumb and bad feelings sometimes that probably aren't politically helpful, but try it out. We'll see.
And we'll sort it out in the marketplace of feelings.
We will.
All right, let's talk about it. What was Trump's worst play this week? I don't know either, honestly.
I don't fucking know. I mean, getting rid of FEMA will be pretty bad. I do think that we'll see how things shake out. But on balance, he is on better turf on the performative stuff.
Yeah.
You mentioned Colombia. When he's able to just bleat and talk about how terrible people are and how stupid people are and wave the pen around and rename things back to Confederate soldiers. That's all good turf for him, sadly.
I think part of what makes this this opening week feel so terrible and bleak, it is because he is wall-to-wall coverage, getting to make promises, take credit, announce sweeping policies, claim to be delivering, but the reality of those policies, the negative impacts of a lot of those policies either have not been felt or have not been felt by people he cares about. And so in the end, I think Trump's worst plays of this week will be the promises that he doesn't keep, and hopefully people will notice.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I guess we'll just see what fucking happens. We'll see you on another edition of Speech Center. Go check out all of Tim's shows on the Bulwark. It's on YouTube. It's a podcast. And you'll always find him here at Speech Center, the center of speeches. Like, subscribe, leave us a comment. This thing's a rocket ship, all right? And every comment, it's a little bit of fuel.